He's one of the privileged few political leaders to have lived beyond a century and witnessed 4 regimes in the country. Charles Mugane Njonjo, Kenya's first black Attorney General, would have turned 102 later this month. His was an eventful life that includes nearly 2 decades on the corridors of the country's political power. Here now is a look back on Njonjo'S life when he turned 100 years almost 2 years ago.
He always stood out for his urbane, somehow aristocratic demeanor. A dashing young lawyer donning designer suits, spoke the Queen's language with perfect diction, and his law career at top-flight level.
The justice would dispense under the shadow of the blind goddess on top of this building.
And I knew Charles when, before I became a member of parliament, before independence, he had just come back as a young lawyer from having qualified as a lawyer in England. And he came back under colonial government at that time to join the Attorney General's office. And now he grew through the system.
Charles Njonjo started out as Crown Counsel handling cases under companies and bankruptcy ordinance in the Supreme Court. He also doubled up as the Assistant Registrar General up to 1960. As Kenya's independence beckoned, Charles Njonjo's star was burning brighter in the colonial administration. At the age of 42 years and just 1 year to Kenya's independence, he became the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions.
He was now involved in the group that we were preparing for independence, but he was from the government side. So when we became independent, he was one of the senior legal officers who helped now in organizing the new government. It was the speeding up of Africanizing the various senior positions. So Charles was picked as the Attorney General because of the African councils at the Attorney General's office. He was one of the most senior.
Sir Charles, as he's known, thanks to his penchant for all things British, including his signature pin-striped suits, joined the first 15-member cabinet as Attorney General.
I'm puzzled from where is it?
Burudi Nabwera was deployed to Washington, D.C. as Kenya's ambassador.
When I was in America, we used to correspond, and he was very helpful. He was very kind, very helpful to me. Whenever I had a problem to sort out the government, he was always available. Even if it was something that he was to talk to Mzee, he would convey my message to Mzee or talk to Mzee. Then Mzee would tell him what he wanted me to do. So, in that respect, even in my official capacity, Charles became very useful to me.
Charles Njonjo had President Kenyatta's ear and often rode in the presidential limousine. His hand was felt in all key decisions taken by President Kenyatta, including the appointment of Daniel Arap Moi as Kenya's 3rd Vice President when Joseph Murumbi suddenly resigned. Njonjo ruled the legal scene like an opinionated roaster, interpreting and enforcing the law his way.
He operated in a system in which he was more of a law enforcement, a part of the law enforcement institution, or the head of the law enforcement institution, in circumstances where the state, was everything.
And once he has to push a motion or a bill for government, it always sailed through.
Njonjo was literally married to his job that he only settled down at the age of 52. He got married to Margaret Bryson in 1972 after pressure from his boss, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. It is rumored that Mzee always wondered when he would stop being advised by a bachelor. It was not uncommon for Njonjo to sip lunchtime champagne while walking barefoot in Kenyatta's office at State House, Nairobi. With a stroke of the pen, Njonjo could deregister companies or deport foreigners. He could also sign detention orders from his house, jail or release prisoners. These powers made him enemies among colleagues. Indeed, his power was immense that he once rushed a constitutional amendment through parliament to allow Kenyatta to pardon Paul Ngei when a court of law barred Ngei from contesting a by-election for committing an election offense. He prosecuted fellow members of parliament, ignoring their pleas, including those made to the president.
Njonjo had very powerful allies. Remember then the British still had the army in this country and they were in charge of the economy.
Then came Kenyatta's death in 1978 and the succession intrigues that placed Njonjo on the driver's seat of the political transition as Attorney General. He had seen off a group of central Kenya politicians that noisily campaigned to prevent Moi from succeeding the aging Kenyatta. He outlawed talk and even imagination of Kenyatta's death. That immediately silenced the Change the Constitution movement, and when Mzee Kenyatta died on the 22nd of August 1978, Charles Njonjo very calmly read the law.
Daniel Arap Moi is now president of Kenya for the next 90 days until an election is held for the future president of Kenya.
Moi's ascendance to power marked a new phase of influence for Charles Njonjo. Together with former Laikipia politician, the late Gigi Kariuki, and the man Moi had picked as his assistant, Emilio Mwai Kibaki, they constituted what was seen as a partnership presidency that saw them share a ride in a presidential limousine.
Even smoking in Moi's car, and you know who Moi was. They were so powerful. But what surprised many people was how they were able to establish a rapport with that Kikuyu leadership.
And I think that gave Njonjo, then during the Moi presidency, a lot of powers, at least in the first half of the Moi presidency.
Without Njonjo, I very much doubt the course of Kenyan history would have been the same. Specifically, I doubt that Moi would have become president.
The Siaya senator, who was then a member of the National Assembly, describes Njonjo as a skilled political schemer.
Whenever he was in parliament, you could see where the center of the power of the state was. It was personified and solidified in the person of Charles Njonjo.
There were no mechanisms of challenging the constitutionality of any legislation enacted under his watch. Many political dissenters were detained without trial on minor offenses as Njonjo retained detention laws and ensured tough prison conditions for inmates. Kenya became a single-party dictatorship after Njonjo lobbied parliament to amend the constitution.
He moved, the bill. It was seconded by Kibaki, who was then cabinet minister. And then debate was closed. Nobody would be allowed to speak. I think I was the only person who was able to throw in a word.
Charles Njonjo made his office powerful by not only being at the center of political power and decision-making, but also by straddling the police force, legal fraternity, and the civil service. He incorporated the Criminal Investigations Department, CID, and made it part of his chamber's criminal prosecution. But that only lasted for 3 years, and the honeymoon was over.
At one point, Moi asked me,
what do people say Njonjo is? So I told him, according to people, the most powerful person in this country is Charles Njonjo. If he wants you in jail, even if you have not done anything at all, you are going to end up in jail. Funny enough, Moi started laughing at my answer. He laughed and laughed.
4 years into Moi's rule, a group of disgruntled Air Force servicemen briefly overthrew the government on the 1st of August 1982 before being overpowered by loyalist forces commanded by Brigadier Mahmoud Mohammed. It is an event that changed Moi forever. An insecure Moi moved to strip the ranks, getting rid of Charles Njonjo and constructing his power circle made of politicians and figures from his own Kalenjin tribe, such as the late Nicholas Biwott, who came to be known as Total Man.
Moi knew if he is to be stable and to lead Kenya, he shouldn't have people like Njonjo, who knew a lot and who had a lot of influence both inside here and outside in the system.
Having resigned as Attorney General to join politics, the then Kikuyu MP and powerful Constitutional Affairs Minister had gained political mileage in the large Mount Kenya region. And that is how Njonjo's downfall started.
I think Moi had always believed that Njonjo would not connect with the Kikuyu leadership. But surprisingly, they quickly connected. And they connected with other parts of the country. It was very easy there for them to take over power, Gigi Karaoke and Njonjo. And therefore Moi had to get rid of Njonjo, definitely. Anybody would. Of course, that was in the African style. Traitor, what.
But Burudi Nabwera believes that the allegations against Njonjo were all choreographed to crush his presidential ambitions, if at all he harbored any.
For me, it is out of his character. It is not the Njonjo I know.
But that marked the end of the road politically for Charles Njonjo. He resigned both as Minister for Constitutional Affairs and Member of Parliament for Kikuyu, never to resurface again on the political scene until the 2005 referendum campaigns, when he joined Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto, Kalonzo Musyoka and others to oppose the Wako draft constitution. The Orange team carried the day.
Serikali sasa ina two choices.
Apart from the referendum, Njonjo has always lived a quiet, private life away from cameras, but he once in a while ventured out, ending at the judiciary buildings at one time.
The law does not see and law has no hands. But now, those who practice law here have hands and they seem to have eyes. Now, when you have eyes, you get tempted.
He talked about something that continues to dog Kenya's judiciary to date: corruption.
The justice will dispense under the shadow of the blind goddess, on top of this building. That you come here in these law courts hoping and trusting that you are going to get justice and you are not going to pay for it.
Njonjo briefly stepped out into the limelight in 2007 when he declared his support for Raila Odinga during the 2007 presidential elections. Since then, he has chosen a quiet life, only appearing on occasional TV interviews.
It is with profound gratitude and humility that I have received many messages of congratulations and best wishes for my milestone birthday. Through my many years, I have dedicated myself to the service of my country, my church, and my fellow men. In the civil service, my constituency of Kikuyu, now Kabete, private sector, through all the boards I have been in. I am humbled by what I consider to be my greatest blessings, my loving family, which has expected, has grown over the years. First of all, my wonderful wife and life companion, Margaret, followed by my children, Wairimu, Elizabeth, Mary, Wambui, and Josiah David. The family has grown with son-in-law Foka Bassen and carrying Guinea. I have also had the greatest joy and privilege of grandchildren. To date, 6 of them, all of whom have the most uplifting effect on my energy and love for life. For this, I am truly grateful to God. I thank you.